How's it going?
It's going good. Going good, man. How about you?
Good.
First sermon was done.
Was done. It was it was. I think it was good. People responded well to it. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah. First Bible studies out there too.
The Bible studies out there. I actually did that on a small group on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. So that was really good. It turned out to.
My small group's doing it tonight. So we're doing that. The love
is in the air. But so a lot of good conversations came out of that one, and I think the sermon kind of set the tone for the series in a sense. I think I don't think we want to talk about sermon here, but necessarily anymore. But love is the foundation of our relationships, and if we don't start there, we start in the wrong foot.
It's funny you say that. I was actually, you're scrolling through Facebook and you see all these things sometimes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I still have it up, but I came across this one. Oh, I lost it. And I thought about it. I was like, it was an old couple. It's a meme.
Okay.
It's not a meme. It's a real thing. It's like share this or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was an old guy and an old lady, and she's laying on the couch, and he's sitting down beside her, and he's holding her hand. Mm-hmm. And their post said, she didn't want a doctor. She just wanted him there. And the post said he tells her about the first time they met, the first time they kissed, when they got married, their life together.
Is this lady dying?
She dies.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then she kind of dies. But they said the only thing he had to give was love. Mm-hmm. In that moment was just to love on her by telling her that. And he says, we come into this world, we build up all of our accolades and things like that, but we really don't take that with us.
No, yeah.
But the only thing we ever have to give is love. And he said, choose love. And that's then they say, share this if you want to live for 2 days.
I was about to say, I like that meme. That's
anyway,
good.
It was,
and I think that is true. That's the only thing we have to give. And I do think, though, I don't know, I do think that love endures forever. If God is love and love...
You write Hallmark cards now?
I do think that love endures forever. It's an eternal thing. I think it starts here for sure. But I think it's carrying on into eternity with us. Yeah. I do not know how the context of love will be in heaven. Yeah. I mean, the loves that we disperse to one another here, how it's going to play it out in heaven. But
I don't know.
If God's love, God's eternal. So therefore, love is eternal. Well,
today's topic on podcast is not about love.
That is not about love.
It's actually the furthest thing from love.
That one is the relationship between the Bible and what?
Technology.
And how technology influences relationships in the 21st century. I mean, we cannot live without technology.
No, we have so much things in front of us, right? The fact that we're bringing this podcast now to people to be seeing this technology, right?
That's exactly it. So there's pros and cons.
Pros and cons, yes, for sure. But one of the things I always like, because I was kind of looking back on some of the stuff with the Bible and technology and stuff like that, and the first time we see some technological advancement, it wasn't good.
Why?
The Tower of Babel.
Okay. Well, I went to the Ark.
Okay.
So I was because I went to the Ark. I took the family to the Ark at some point in the past, and they said that the Ark was the first. I read somewhere in there, and I had that in my mind. So that the Ark was the first technological advancement of man, or something like that. And I was like, so I had coming to this. I remember that. So maybe
he used God's guidance. He protect and persevere life. He gave him precise things to do, and to building the things. But I went to the Tower of Babel because they kind of advanced themselves. They're building this tower, and then it's
the biggest skyscraper ever made. I mean, the World Trade Center doesn't even came close, or the one in Singapore. I think the biggest. It might be in Dubai now. I don't know. The biggest building in the world right now. I don't know which one it is, but they didn't even come close.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it said the context is that they used the Tower of Babel, they brick making and construction, and they built this tower to reach the heavens. Right. Mm-hmm. Aiming to make a name for themselves. That's just the story. Technology can be used to unite people, but used for self-glorification too as well, right? And I think This one, they kind of went without God's will. It led to division. Story shows us the dangers when we use when we use technology to defy God's purpose to elevate our own human pride over our relationship with Him and others. And I think that's what we saw there at the Tower of Babel. But there's many more things.
I'm thinking about the Tower of Babel. I mean, did they ever say what it was built of? Was there like brick? Was there?
Yeah, brick making and construction. Yeah, they finally got some things like one of the things like technological advancement in the Bible is like having a pen.
Well, true, but that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think about also now that you're thinking about talking about this, I think also about the tabernacle. Do you think that the temple, the construction of the temple, because as men's ministry, we would read, we read, from Genesis, and now we're in Judges, so I remember just all the details that you talk about all the details God gave the people into creating the temple. There was woodworking, there was metalworking. I mean, there was weaving. Talking
about Solomon's temple, right?
Yeah.
The temple, yeah. It's a technology for worship that's found in Kings, 1 Kings chapter 6.
Okay.
Solomon's use of technology reflects how human advancement in architecture and craftsmanship can honor God, and foster a place for communal worship. Today, that mirrors us in the church. We have the church, we have places, buildings we can have to facilitate corporate worship. In that standpoint, that's an example where that model for how technology can help promote God's agenda, kingdom agenda in a sense.
That's cool.
Was pretty cool.
I was just thinking about things that people did that for us today is not, we don't consider technology. Another one I think is like boats. Back in the day, Peter, John, and all them, they have boats. At some point, there was no boats. Probably that was a big technology.
A tree.
And now I'm thinking about even fishing.
A tree fell over, and they're like, "Hey, that's on the water. It didn't sink."
It's like floating. Let's get on top of it. But here's what. So I'm sure we can think about more things. But here's one of the things that the Bible does. The Bible, in my opinion, emphasizes relationship over technology.
Yeah.
Because I think the whole point of those technologies, the good and the pros and the cons, was based on the relationship that it.
Yeah, I think technology is a resource, right? It it's not meant to replace the thing itself. But a lot of times, what we do with anything starts off in a good place, we use it, we abuse it, and we come to a point where it's no longer good for us. Which was good for us to begin with is no longer good for us. I think of the biggest thing, in the 21st century with technology that I've seen with growing up, having family in far distance, and you may see this too, is like being able to FaceTime, like talking to family members who are like miles and hundreds and thousands of miles away. It's like that. You're right there.
Let's move into since you opened that can there. Let's go into some good things of technology on the 21st. I don't know where we didn't talk about where we're going. I was just thinking the benefits.
Communication and connection. I think I would put that under that category, right?
Yeah, and across a distance. Like most of us know that I lost mom, and the last time I saw my mom was FaceTiming. The nurse was holding an iPad all the way in the hospital in Brazil. I was with Junior on a soccer game in Canton, Ohio, and that was the last time I saw mom. I think it was a Friday. She made a little heart for me because the lady asked her to do a heart for me, and I did a heart back to her. And then on Monday she passed. She had a heart attack. So technology is so good. It gives me those memories to hold on to. Right. It is important. Technology gives you. Allows you to stay connected with people that are far, far away, especially for us who are foreigners.
Yeah, foreigners. I remember when I came to this country, I got in trouble. I'm going to tell the story. Yeah, I got in trouble. Okay. So we came to this country, and we're here, and I just didn't know how the phone really worked in a sense. So I pick up the phone. I'm calling all my friends in Trinidad, man. Till my dad got the bill. It was over $500, dude. I just say foreigners disciplined differently. It didn't happen again.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it didn't.
But yeah, just to be I think of technology with the theme of relationships, right? having connections, having communication, like all those family members and stuff like that, like my communication ended. But with the advancement in technology, it wasn't as it is now as it was back then. Now I can text my cousin and like in 3 seconds I get a response back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so, but think about this. Paul back in the day, he sent a text message too, but
he sent text message through the resource he knew, which was an epistle, letter.
Yeah, letters
right?
and to the churches and to
that's
people.
A form of technology.
That's a form of technology. But today, I mean, instead of waiting weeks and months for the letter to arrive, you know, it's instant message, voice calls, FaceTime. So many media platforms that allows us to connect with other people, to be connected. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. I read a research, I bring it up here. I read a research that talked about how kids rely on smartphones and to create close relationships. So it's called the smartphones and close relationship, the case for evolutionary mismatch. So the whole idea of this article that I was reading is that we were created to connect. We were created to communicate with one another as we involve. Is from a scientific aspect of it, not a biblical. From a scientific, we are involving, and that involvement calls for a faster connection. So that's what they're talking about, this evolutionary mismatch between smartphone and social media behaviors that help form and maintain close relationships. So because we are evolving still, now we want to be connected to more people in a fast pace. So the article was based, it's a theory that they were based on the idea of we're involving, and technology plays part on that involving of you.
Right, you. And I want to stick that as well, just maybe add a little bit to that. That I think that you're right. Technology is evolving. How we communicate is evolving, but sometimes what the danger with that is you get superficial relationships. You don't get deep relationships. You don't get relationships that just go beyond like the hi, hello, how are you doing today? Like these are the things that, you know, we're called for a deep relationship. We're relational beings, you know, and we need those type of relationships. We need that connectedness. And I don't think you get that fully with the smartphones or the instant messaging. I think it's definitely a means to an end, but I don't think it's this end state. I don't think it will ever replace face-to-face conversations.
Well, and so I mean, we were doing the things that were good. Now we're talking a little bit about the things that are not. You're right. Another article that I read is called "The Effects of Smartphone Over Dependence on the Quality of Friendship on Depression Among High School Students." So this study looked at over 121 high school students and their smartphone over dependence. And so they found that the result that they found was that the more dependent they were on their phones to create a relationship with people through their phones, actually made them more depressed. Then that affected their personal relationship face to face.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, because when the phone goes off, the friends are not there.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that personal, that physical touch is so important, right? To be able to not, you know, obviously, but like just knowing someone is there, so someone you can feel, touch, smell, just seeing things. I think these are the things that can't be replaced with, you know, the like AI or things like that. These are things that are innate characteristics of being human.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it says. The analysis showed that smartphone or dependencies increase the depression level, where areas of the quality of friendship lowers it. To decrease depression among high school students, a smartphone dependence and the quality of friendship should be managed appropriately. So they're saying like, you have to have a face-to-face conversation with individuals. The technology is fine. You can still do that. If we're evolving into fast-paced relationships, that's fine. But you still need those deep connections.
Yeah, you can't grab a hold of the new and forego the old things, right? Those things they meant to go together. And I think that's what's happened. You're either, a lot of people are going extremists. They're like extremely on this, extremely over here, or like, but there has to be a middle ground. And I think that's what we want to talk about. How do you have a middle ground where technology is not weakening your relationships, it's actually strengthening those bonds, strengthening those relationships that you have, and also helping you create new ones? Because the whole thing with being able to, the geographical difference, forget that for now, but let's just talk about just the online community that you can have is a good thing. People who are going through experiences that you're going through, who are going through experience, like having shared things that you're happening and having that community. Like, for example, like I had a heart attack a couple months ago, right? And so after rehab the other day, I was leaving rehab, and they had a paper there, support group, right? I was like, I didn't even know I needed a support group, right? But like, there are some things that I'm probably processing or I'm just kind of like not dealing with because of that. And then they're like, well, you can join in Zoom, because I'm like, well, I can't get there physically because it's all the way down in Columbus or whatever. The big group is meeting. But then like, you can do Zoom. I was like, man, I should probably go do that Zoom thing. I haven't done it yet, but I probably should. But I made that point to say, like, here I am. It's a space specifically for people who are going through the same things that you've gone through that can help you with that.
If there's one thing technology did in the 21st century, is to bring people with the same conditions together.
Yeah.
So like
a lot of support.
And in all kind of communities, right?
During our pregnancy, we were going through. Amanda had community that she was talking to, people who's going through experiences we've gone through.
Yeah, and I was thinking more, not only that, but also on like gender differences, stuff like the political, like it has created like this different like community that allows you to be part of and forget about everything else around it for that moment because you're so invested in that community. So on the website American Psychological Association, they have a good view of social media, and this is what they say. Perhaps most notably, psychological research suggests that young people form and maintain best friendships online. These relationships often afford opportunities to interact with a more diverse peer group than offline, and the relationships are close and meaningful and provide important support to youth in times of stress. This can be especially important for youth with marginalized identities, including racial, ethnic, sexual, and gender minorities. So, and I think that's what I was trying to get to, is this idea that, we have today on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, Snapchat, groups for specific people in our lives, specific things that we are part of. That is a good thing.
It's a
because
good thing.
You get to connect with people you never connected
connect. You're not the only one going through it. You have support. You have the shared experiences. I think that's important, to have those, because you, in the physical sense, you don't necessarily have access to the resources that they can give you. I've seen like people get answers to things they've been battling for years because they found someone who was actually going through the same thing that they're going through, and they tried this and it worked.
That's awesome.
But
you talk about Zoom, and I couldn't help but to think about what would Paul do with Zoom.
Oh, man.
Can you like evangelism and spiritual support? How would Paul use that to his advantage in spreading the gospel and teaching people about who Jesus is and helping people understand
I think from
the gospel?
Just from a training standpoint, just being able to, the biggest thing when you have an in-person thing is getting there, right? That's half the battle sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I think about like Jeremiah's dad, who goes out to do missionary work. And he goes out to the jungle and he's talking to all these people, the Laos people. Like, think about if they had access to technology to get on the computer, like how much more they would be able to get done, get through, things like that. I think Paul would have the same thing too. Like, hey guys, we're gonna hop on a Zoom at 6. You got this going on, the elders going on. All right, we're gonna talk about it. Yeah, here we go.
That's
talk
exactly
about,
it.
what I'm saying?
No, yeah. I mean, I think Paul would.
Paul would have liked it too, because he shipwrecked like 3 times. He'd have been like, man,
I don't need to go over there.
You gotta stay right here.
Just call it, FaceTime it. No, yeah, I think like the Great Commission would be would have gone to the next level with.
Yeah.
But
that was a technological advancement in itself. The spreading of the gospel was a technology. The use of the word spread throughout the land, advanced communication. The Roman Empire, all these different things allowed them to spread the message of the gospel. Early Christians used the availability of this to help bring it and to strengthen not only that, but the relationship between love and truth and getting the truth out, because back then, how many things were being told that was not truthful, right? Yeah. Here they have it. So I think,
but I think today the pluralization of information, we got so much things so fast in our hands, in our phones, in our eyes. Yeah. That is so fast that sometimes it doesn't. You still need wisdom to try to figure out what's wrong. So, but I think about like the encouragement that would have been to Paul and how much more people he would have reached for Jesus. And well, he's still reaching people today through the technology of writing back in the day. But so another thing that I think about, we were talking about here, and you're talking, and I'm sorry, I was thinking about, I gotta do some, once this is over, I have some stuff that I gotta do, and I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Technology allows us to do a lot more today than we did back in the day. Allow us to manage our busy schedule in a better way, I would say. Yeah. We all know that life is busy. We have work, we have responsibilities, we have personal time, we have family times, we have kids, we have all this stuff. And I think technology helps us, allowing us to nurture good relationships while getting stuff done at the same time.
Thinking about like showing up to, things, supporting other people's stuff, like helps you keep on track with that. That helps them see that, hey, they care about me enough to put me in the schedule to make that time to come there to get it done. I think it just helps with that. It's funny. I'm gonna tell a story. I won't use the people. I'll use names. I will use fake names because I'll get in trouble for this. But so Young Love, right? And you know about this thing called E360, where the thing where you can track what you put on the phones.
Oh, and they can tell Live 360.
Live 360, whatever it is.
Yeah, we have that at home. I can't leave the house without Laura knowing where I'm going, what I'm doing.
But do you think that promotes trust, or how does that help with like a relationship, like just starting, like
for a relationship just starting?
Yeah. So let me tee it up and we'll talk about it, because
but then you're talking about can you just give your phone? I mean, can you give your phone to your wife?
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the problems.
But this is not a wife. This is young love. This is first, like, just started meeting. We're dating. Live 360.
Dating and you're giving your location. No, that's weird.
No, that creates a lot of anxiety that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Right? That creates a lot of stuff. And I'm kind of like trying to say, hey, listen, don't do that, because there has to be some trust here. There has to be trust that, you're the one I'm with, and you're where you're supposed to be. And I think sometimes, that what's meant to be a good thing, like if something were to happen, hey, I know exactly where I come help you, is being used to spy, stalk, creating all these like feelings of like just analysis paralysis, just like creating scenarios that like is not even there.
Everybody needs to know everything about you, even like especially at that level. If you're like married for 23 years, then there's nothing about me that at this point that Laura hasn't found out, right? So it depends at the level there too. But the other day you talk about Live 360. That's funny. The other day we have Live 360 on my dad. Everybody in the family is on Live 360. Me, my brother, his kids, my sister, her kids, her husband, my dad. And so my dad was visiting his sister. And so my sister was telling my aunt, hey, I know where call her house to talk to my aunt. And mine's like, oh, your dad's not here. So my sister was like, no, I know where he's at. He's at a specific church talking. He's at the church. Like, how do you know that? It's like, because we track him. She got mad.
Oh.
Why are you tracking your dad? He's a 73-year-old man. He don't need no babysitting.
He's 72. That's why I track him.
That's exactly it. He's starting to loosen it. So whenever he loses it, we got to find the guy. So, it has to be some kind of comfort and some kind of transparency between all the parties for something like that. Life 360 is non-negotiable in our family. And we're not checking the kids all the time, or where they're at, or where they're not at, or how fast they're driving, and how many times they use their phone,
Yeah.
because Life 360 gives you all of that.
I think we're not saying. I think it's the misuse of the technology.
Sure.
Is what we're talking about. The technology in itself is not bad.
No,
right?
no.
It's not bad. It's how you use it, right? As with anything, even back then, before all the stuff came, it's how they used it.
Well, and Ephesians chapter 3 chapter 4 verse 32 tells us to be compassionate, to be kind to one another. And I think technology used well allows us to do just that, right? To be kind, to be compassionate to other people. You can go to people's social media and give some good message. You can sympathize what's going on in their life if it is bad. You can celebrate with them if it is good. You can share wisdom that you have to them. So technology used in order to uplift people, be compassionate, to encourage people, to be kind to people, to love on people, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to do, because we're supposed to be relational people? Matthew 22:39 tells us that the best thing that you can do is to love your neighbors as you love yourself. So a technology that is used to propagate biblical principles is a great thing. A great thing, but you were right earlier. I was going to say to ping on that. Maybe now is the time. It's like we have been trying to do life on superficial relationships, and that's a problem. We don't have deep bonds anymore, right? Like we don't have deep, good conversations anymore. Proverbs chapter 18 verses 24 that says, "A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." Like a lot of us know that verse, and what that verse says, like you can have a multitude of people around you, but you still can go to ruin. But if you got one good friend, one deep relationship, one person you can count on, they can count on you, and you guys can keep each other accountable. You can you have good set of boundaries. It allows us to deepen those relationships in a way that allows us to thrive and to prosper. Social media has made very easy for us to say, "I have a lot of friends."
Yeah. Well, it's the perception, right? The one thing about social media is like it's unrealistic portrayal, fostering comparison, insecurity, and the pressure to maintain a certain image, or what I would like to say, a brand.
Sure.
Right? It's all about your brand. And that just lacks authenticity. And when it comes to relationship, the first thing you have to be is authentic, right? You can't be this one person, speaking of social media, online, portraying this different thing, and then you meet in person, you're not even close to that.
Like, that's called catfish.
Yeah, my buddy Andy, one time he says, "Oh, he's just social media courageous." Like someone was, the person never talks. We're around this person all the time, and they like never say a peep. But on social media, they're the loudest person ever. And he goes, he got social media, he got Facebook courage.
And I think that's one problem that. Can I jump there?
Yeah.
I think is a problem, because social media and technology has allowed the potential of conflict and misunderstanding and miscommunication to skyrocket, right?
Yep.
So social media can be a source of conflict and misunderstanding in relationships. The way people communicate online, through their texts, through emojis, social posts, can sometimes be unclear on how you're trying to
well, yeah, I mean,
what you're trying to say and how people interpret what you're saying. The tone, there's no tone of voice.
There's no tone. We touch a lot about that on communication stuff, which is like tone is a hard thing, but you can't do that you can't do that on a text message, right? No. And we are over texting over all these different things, and there's a lot of conflict happening when there shouldn't be, because someone read into this the way that there shouldn't be. That's not how I meant it. How many times I've had this conversation before? Man, and I got to this. I text you. I was like, "Well, you text me saying," I was like, she goes, "That's not what I said." I was like, "That's exactly how I read it." That's like, right, where you at?
Yeah.
That's the biggest one for us. When you coming home?
Somebody got to take care of the baby. You're checking it out. But yeah, so the conflict and miscommunication for me though has to do with the lack of presence. There is a disconnect, emotional disconnect that comes because of social media, because we're not present in the moment, right? When you're with a person, and I think that's the value of face-to-face interaction over social media or over technological ways. I think technological ways are important. I mean, we have people in our congregation who got married, who met online, and then develop a relationship online, and then move into a face-to-face to marriage. So I don't want to write technology out, but there is this emotional disconnect that we have because we are not present with the person in the moment. I think that's why in Facebook, people can write, you talk about the courage. People can be courageous there because they don't have that face-to-face time. If they had that face-to-face time, I think it would be easier for us to be more kind, more compassionate, to exercise self-control, to ponder about what we're going to say and how we're going to say it. So I think, Jesus himself, was known for being fully present with people. And throughout the gospel, Jesus didn't seem to be distracted by many things. He was always focusing and talking to the people that he was dealing with.
Yeah, one thing I like about that, as you said that, maybe remind me, like, the disciples were always trying to get him to the next stop, like trying to get him to move, but he was always like, no, I'm in the moment. Like, I think a lot of times what Jesus shows us is how to be in the moment, right? You say in be present, in the presence. I don't think we take that. I think of the specific example, like the woman when he was walking and she reaches down and touches, right? That's a lesson to the disciples as with anything. Don't be so far ahead of yourself to miss the things in front of you, right? Like, like he was like, they were like trying to get him. He's like, Master, and he's like, no. Somebody touched me.
Yeah.
I
got to be present right here. I felt something like, let's be present right here. And he was present by that day and healed that lady.
Yeah.
Had a deep conversation with her,
And
then healed that lady. He gave her his full attention. Yeah. And with that full attention, it came healing, not only physical, but emotional and spiritual healing that was important for that lady. Yeah. So I think we have some of those healings because of technology.
Yeah, and I think that we see our relationships suffer for those things because we depend so much on technology, but we're not doing the things that we ought to be doing to help build relationships, right? Superficial relationships, everybody has those. I mean, you just can't be friends with 100 people. But you could be really good friends with 2 or 3 people, right? Who knows what you're going through, who knows things that you're dealing with. And, from this instant communication that we have, this instant gratification, like, a good relationship takes time.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
A good relationship takes time over time to learn about the person, to intentionally learn about the person's likes, dislikes, learn about what it is what makes them tick, So when you have those things, I'm bringing my point to is about quality time, right? And not the quantity of time.
Sure.
And sometimes we replace those and we think just because I'm spending a lot of time with you, our relationship should be good, be better, it shouldn't be suffering. But we're not spending quality time. If you spend quality time, that's much different. And I think that's the balance, is that this instant gratification, instant communication, we've lost this idea of what it means to have quality time versus quantity. We're replacing it with quantity of time, even in person.
Yeah, so you talked about that. I was reminded of a cognitive and emotional capacity study that I read not too long ago. I brought it up here because it was easy. When we have emotional capacity, human emotional capacity, we can only hold 150 people in our hearts and our minds. People there, and those are called the casual acquaintances. People that it's 100 people, 150 people. You can't know much more than that. These are individuals that people that and recognize them, and they know who you are. But they do not know anything about you. They just say, "Oh, I have seen that guy at the gym, or I have seen that guy at the grocery store." So those are casuals. Our minds only hold 150 faces. Then there's a social network, and that social network is about 50 people. This group includes friends and acquaintances with whom an individual has regular but less frequent interaction. So 50 people. And then there is close friends. Let's say it's 15 people. You can only have 15 close friends. These are friends or extended family within whom a person has frequent contact and strong ties. And then in your inner circle, there is 5 people. These are the closest relationships, such as family members or best friends, with whom an individual has a deep emotional connection. So, and that varies depending if you're introvert or extrovert, right? And depending on development of your skills. So some maybe an introvert would probably have just 3 on their inner cycle, maybe 1 or 2. Their casual might be a lot less than that. But that in the max, that's where it is. And I think I have a 3,000 friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
You're up there.
No, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, well, maybe
they're deep connections.
No, it's not 3,000. It's 2,300, right? Like, that's it, boy. That's I'm bragging here. So about that much, and
everybody's gonna wonder if they're in the 150 right now.
Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So how many really people you get? I don't get 2,300 not notification, but posts in my thing from people that I know. I don't get to see all that. I don't know what's going on in other people's lives, right? And so sometimes I have been pinged like, "Hey, Pastor Sam, you didn't call me." I was like, "What happened?" She's like, "Well, I posted on Facebook that I was going through this," and I was like, "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that. Next time, text me, call the church. We'd love to pray for you to be, to know what's going on." But so there's even this assumption that if you are on Facebook with someone or on Instagram with someone, they know exactly what's going on in your life at all times because you posted. I don't care if you post it or don't, but the reality is I have 2,300 and I don't get everybody's post in my thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't know how the algorithm and all this stuff happens on Facebook.
Yeah.
But reality is they don't show me everything. So we think we are. So the point I'm trying to make is we think we are friends. We think we are close. We think we are dispersing information to everybody. But reality, we are not. It would be much easier to be face to face with someone and say, "Hey, this is what I'm going through. Can you come alongside me, or can we pray together? Can you give me some wisdom? Can you intercede for me?" and so on. And so
forth. As you say that, I was thinking about in a world where you would say we are very well technology. We're probably a lot of ways, many ways, multiple platforms to stay connected, right?
Sure.
Why are still so many people feeling neglected? Especially kids.
Well, because it has replaced people.
Yeah. And then that's the point. We have taken something that's good, that ought to be good, help us stay connected, which is a good thing. And we've gone so far, the pendulum has swung so far to the other side that we didn't even realize that we've lost these connections, that we've lost these, and that falls into this banner called neglect.
Sure.
When just to think, if I could just think about a kid who feels neglected, but mom and dad is always there. But when you're there, are you present? Are you spending that quality time, or are you on the phone looking at the next connection, right? Trying to connect to the next thing, because sometimes we do that. I'm guilty of that. I'm over here, but I'm texting, trying to get ready for the next thing, or I'm working on something else. And I think when we do have those connections, when we do have those relationships, we need to try to be present in those moments and, give the person that time, because everybody's busy, right? We get that. But, to sit down and put your phone away, don't let don't let the notifications beep. We were in small group last week, and Amy's going to be mad I told this story. But we were in small group last week, and we got done small group, and she opened up her phone, and she kept scrolling down what felt like for 5 minutes of all these notifications she was getting. I was like, "You're a popular girl." It was a marketplace thing.
But I think that's one of the biggest problems we have, Daniel, especially when it comes to relationships, is the distraction that technology brings to us. And I think we are distracted at home from parenting our kids. We are distracted in our marriages from really invested in our spouse. We are distracted from our friends. We all want friends, but when we get those friends to come together, everybody's on their phones, right? My kids probably be mad at me about this. Not too long ago, before Junior left for college, they have a ton of his friends come over, and they were all in the basement, about like 10 of them, and I went down to the basement one time. Do you know what they were doing?
They're all on their phone.
They're all on their phones, right? And I'm like, I thought that was weird, right? Like they're all on their phone, but hanging out together. And I think we are losing a lot by allowing technology to distract us from being present with the people that God has put in our lives to deepen our bonds together.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a disservice
I think it's
to humanity in general.
I think it's good to have
everybody's is suffering.
I think it's good to have boundaries, knowing like where, like when I'm here, when I'm at the dinner table, when I'm having dinner, I don't want to be distracted by the technology, right? This is the time that we have here. I always say this, it's kind of cliche. I say this when I say, hey, listen, this moment that we have, you and I, this moment we have, right, we'll never get it back.
No, yeah,
right?
You're right.
So why not make the most of it?
Sure.
Why live in regret? Like, man, I could have waited and respond to that email later on. It takes like 2 minutes versus taking me 20 minutes to try to send an email, be half listening to what you're saying, and.
But for us to create boundaries, so on the use of technology, we have to have something a principle that is biblical, in my opinion, is called self-discipline, right? I think if you don't have self-discipline, you're not able to have the mind presence that will help you be present with those around us, to honor that relationship and to honor God who has given you those people. So we need to consider, maybe we can talk about here, maybe some things that we can do, some steps we can take in order to overcome the challenge of technology. Maybe we can create some tech-free zones during family time, right? I think the schools in Delaware, some people is going to be mad at me for this. I think the schools in Delaware is doing a service to the kids and telling them, listen, in classroom, you cannot use your phone. You got to put it away, right? I think that's a good thing because I have seen in my own kids' life how technology has been a blessing for their education, but how it has also been of detriment to to them. I do think I'm going to go back to I do think technology is making us dumber, though. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. You don't have to think no more.
Yeah.
You don't have to have critical thinking anymore. You don't have to find solutions, think about solutions, solving problems.
It just does it for you.
It does it for you. I mean, Apple come up with the new iOS, and in the iOS on your iPad, you can say put 1 + 1 =, and they'll put 2 for you. If you do like a complicated chemical or physics template or whatever you call those things, and you put it there, you put the credentials on it, it will solve for you.
Yeah, like, we were talking the other day, just spell check. We don't have to load a spell anymore. Spell check will do it for you.
I wish they would do like a talk check. Every time I said something wrong, they would be like, correct. But I think they're making us dumber. We needed to think harder back in the day. I don't know, it might be controversial here. This whole AI thing, right? Like ChatGPT and AI videos and all this stuff. As we were discussing that the other day, you can prompt the thing to do whatever you want it to do for them. You don't have to even think no more. You just say, hey, come up with this, and they do it for you. I think that's a disservice to humanity. I think it's making us be lazy in our thinking, being lazy in our being proactive, in being creative. I think it's killing creativity in a way.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think that there's some joy that comes from rubbing, dealing with some scars in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, that reminded me how hard I had to work to get to where I got.
Sure.
You can't bypass the process, right?
No.
And what happened is that we're bypassing the process. There's no time. There's no dedication to your craft. There's no dedication to your studies, to whatever it is. You just tell the system to do it. If that's the world we're heading into, then you're right. I think relationship will only continue to struggle, will only continue to suffer because of that. And mankind has used technology too, in a way that's not productive, right? We see David did that.
Sure.
He did a census, man. He took a census to do what? To show how big his army was. A census is a technological thing to see how many people so that's a funny example, but like we do those things to come off as better than we are, and we're not.
I think about warfare, the technology in warfare, from swords to shields to rocks being thrown to
I'd rather be in the fights with the rocks.
Me too. But so I think we can use technology in good ways, though. And I think one of the ways we can use technology is to encourage people.
Yeah.
Right. I think we talked about being present is a good way of
we
putting it aside. And
we gotta figure out how to land this plane.
We do. And I think that's in here, right?
Yeah.
What are some positive ways that we can use technology? So I'll start. I'll say we can use technology to encourage people. Paul uses his technology of the day to encourage people, to point them to Jesus, to love on them, to give them advice, admonish them, to teach them. And I think we can use technology the same way. I think we can use technology in order to bless people by spurring them to what is godly, to what is good, which is what we're doing here right now with this podcast. We're using technology to encourage people.
Yeah. I think I think that's one of the ways too as well. I think with our technology, we have to be disciplined enough to know when to put the phones away and when to bring the phones out. I think one of the things that the phone especially the phone has allowed us, we don't make eye contact anymore when we talk to people. I come from a country where if you make eye contact, it was actually an offense, right? So you don't look people in the eyes.
Oh,
right?
Why?
It's just kind of that culture, right? Don't stare people in the eye.
Back in Brazil, if you don't look people in the eye, your dad will slap you on the side of the head.
Yeah. Whereas in this country, it's the first thing I went for a job interview, didn't have eye contact, right? So it's something that I had to learn to do it. So I think what happens is we're kind of I've seen too many conversations I see happen, and I work with a lot of teens too as well. You're right. They're on their phone. They're having conversations.
Yeah, they're not looking.
They're all there together. They're all there together. They're texting each other right there, and I'm like, hey,
crazy.
Just pop over and say, hey, do you want to go do this? I think just knowing when, setting some boundaries for yourself. And recognizing, I would say I would challenge anybody listening, take a couple interactions that you have this week, whether it's with your family, with your coworkers, or whatever, and assess, try to grade yourself and see how you're doing from that. Are you distracted because of technology? Are you depending on that, or try to do some assessment and try to think about how you can make that better. And maybe you're doing great, and people are doing great with that. Maybe not everybody's on the bad side. We always seem to think that way, right? But I know for me, I need to do better at it. I need to be able to put it on my phone, because I find myself on it all the time. So think of that screen time. When Nate was younger, growing up, we put in a screen time for him. You actually made fun of us for this. I tell you exactly where it was. We were at a basketball game. We were
bringing old stuff.
We were at a BV game, and you're like, your kid's got screen time. He's like, oh, because his phone locked. And I was like, yeah, buddy.
You put his screen. Your kid was 16 years old, boy. That's terrible. That's terrible parent. No, that's good. That's good parent right there. Laura and I made some mistakes when it comes to technology and kids too, which we don't want to go back to. But I think we allowed a lot of cartoons back in the day. It was on YouTube, and cartoons to do a lot of babysitting for us. Which I don't know if it makes.
Well, boy, that's good. I'm using that. Lion King. Mufasa's my babysitter now.
We did that, and I think there's a lot. There's a lot that. That's the thing, right? That's the balance, I think. And here's another good thing. We gotta bring back to what you're saying. A mom and a dad, we needed to do homework, dude. We were in college. We had a baby. We were in college. We needed to do homework. How do you do homework with the baby crying all the time? Do you know what you do? You put cartoon on Lion King on it, and the kid watch Lion King while you're doing. So I think there must be a balance. Yeah. But if the king is watching Lion King, 20 hours a day, then there's a problem.
Well,
there.
it's
And I
when
think
it's
that's-
not meant
that's
to
the
be.
thing.
It's
Yeah.
not when it's not meant to be. Like, I think like we were very intentional learning from our past mistakes.
Sure.
There was no TV for the first year.
Mhm.
Zachary didn't have any TV. People make fun of us. Is he allowed to watch TV now?
Is he?
He's watching.
Does he know what TV is?
But like at the same time too, you don't want to put yourself. You have. It's a balancing act, right?
Mhm.
Because you don't want to put yourself. You want to put your kids in a place to be successful. How to use technology. How to use technology for your ends, right? And
And I think people are doing to technology what today, parents didn't do to technology today what they did to sex back in the day. They would be like, you can't do it, don't do it, don't do it. As soon as a kid are able to do it, what do?
let's keep doing it.
They go on and do it. And then people are like, why we told you not to do? Technology is the same way. Like people are like, we're not getting you a phone, we don't get you a phone, well, when the kid gets a phone, what do you think the kid's gonna do?
It's gonna make up for the time he didn't have it.
That's exactly it. And I think that's where the parents need to be smarter. I think we need to teach our kids to be responsible with their phones, with social media, and so on and so forth. Then the other way around, right? They just say we're not doing it, we're not getting, and period. Well, they have friends who has it. They might be using their friends. You might not know that. Why?
Well, you don't want to be alienated because you don't have it, right?
That's
At the same time, that you don't want to be giving in to say, "Hey, I'm giving in." As a parenting, you have to explain the why. I think it's always important to explain the why. A lot of times, parents don't explain the why; they just want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
I took that approach as like, don't ask me why, do because I told you to.
Sure, me too.
Right?
So.
But like, I'm learning now to say, you know what? Let me tell you why Daddy wants this. Why? Now Zachariah's not ready to understand all that. But I'm just saying, like, it's about. I think it helps a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't tell them take us away. It tells them, hey, here's why I don't want you on it the whole time.
That's right. That's right.
Here's why you shouldn't be doing this all day long. Like now my kid plays video games all day long.
And I said that we were getting dumber because of it. But this is the thing, though. The other thing is that a kid who is not adapted to technological uses he will stay behind. He or she will stay behind. Right, I was just talking to someone.
It will lead them to isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Then that falls into depression. So now you have a cycle, right? So you have to because you don't want these things to happen. You have to give the kids the tools to be successful.
Yes.
And I think technology is a tool in their tool belt.
Yes.
And we have to show them how to work that. I think that's as parents, right? And then as fellow individuals with our spouses, with our friends, we need to be able to do that too as well. And I think it's good. Like one of the things you talk about how you encourage people. Like I like to text people, hey, I'm thinking about you, praying for you, and stuff like that. Like that's a great use of technology, right?
Yeah.
That's how you
Making
support
someone
people.
Show someone you love them.
Yeah. Being supportive in online communities, I think that's good. Like I'm thinking about joining this heart thing with them and just seeing how they go.
And that is another thing. I think maybe we're starting to close here. Another positive thing we can do with technology is allow our online community, which is a great thing, to actually complement real life relationships, not replace them. And I think this is the balance. I'll go back to the balance again. We are neglecting, we are replacing face-to-face personal relationships to online community, and I think that's not a good thing. I think Hebrew tells us meet together as much as you can, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember where is that, chapter 10, maybe 25, I don't know. But it's like, get together, meet up as much as you can, be face-to-face with people. It's important. Don't neglect of meeting. It's important. So what the author of Hebrews is telling us there, it is like, listen, it is important to have face-to-face time with people. So I think another way we can use social media, technology positively, social media, embrace the community online, for sure, both online and offline, but allow that community online, who is great, to actually complement the real life relationships we have, not to replace them. And I think we have been doing this. We have been replacing people with people that we don't even know online, which is crazy. We allow people. You could go all day here. We allow influencers to influence us. We never know these people. They don't know who we are. They don't really care about us. They don't really care about what's going on in your life, in a sense, you know what I'm saying? But they are influencing you, while you can have maybe your dad or your mom or your cousin or your friend or your boss or your pastor or your youth pastor or a friend to come and care for you in a more deeper way than an influencer on Instagram would. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So any closing thoughts you have? It seems like this plane has been flying around for a while.
I mean, I was about to say we talked a lot, and I don't know if it was the best podcast we had here, meaning like in outlining and just we talked. We went up and down, like you said. I would say this: the secret of technology is called, in my books, balance.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. You have to find a way to balance that, and to be able to use it, because you don't want to be left behind, and you want to embrace it. It can be used to do so many good things, like to spread thinking of the gospel, right? You know how we spread the gospel, we can reach so many more people. I think we can't count it as all loss, but I do think there's a middle ground that has to be met, because when it comes to relationship, I don't think technology replaces the face-to-face personal connectedness that we have. Well,
that one study that I read says kids
does.
are so dependent on that. It's hurting their relationships, which are making them depressed. But they have all these relationships online. There must be a balance that you gotta have some people online, but you gotta have people face to face. So.
And I got a verse I want to just say, Exodus chapter 31, going way back. Says verse 3 and 5 says, "And I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, with understanding, with knowledge, and with all kinds of skills to make artistic designs for work in gold, silver, bronze, to cut, set stones, to work in wood, to engage in all kinds of crafts." God gives his people wisdom. He gives them knowledge, a skill for creativity, skill for craftsmanship. All of these applies to technology, and we're in a modern time now. We see it differently right now.
But
now,
it's the same.
It's the same thing,
but it was God gave those things for what? For our reason,
as a tool to be creative and to help serve each other. And I think that's what we have.
To honor God and serve
God, to serve Him. And I think we have lost that. We now use it to serve ourselves, and in doing so, we're dealing with the repercussions of that, because it's not how it was meant to be. As with anything with humanity, right? If we didn't use it the way it's meant to be, then it's not.
Then it's not. Yeah.
So I think technology helps us with that. Helps us build for the future. It's a great way for us to be responsible, keep ourselves accountable. Helps us spread God's message. And at the end of the day, how we use technology should be to honor God and to be able to spread the message of hope that He has for everyone who needs to hear it. So
perfect.
We ended.
I think so. With that said,
be blessed, right?
Be blessed.
We out.